Alright, I'm gonna do the review now, because I don't know if I'm gonna have an opportunity to do it later, so we'll just do it now. It won't be long, because there's not much to say. I hate this game. This is the worst Zelda game that I played. I guess some people don't count it as part of the main series, but whatever it is, it's awful. I guess like the first thing I should say, I guess, are some of the good things. The graphics are good. If you play this on a real CRT, I really like how it uses the A Link to the Past style, but improves upon it using all the capabilities of the GameCube. And it really is beautiful. It's a really gorgeous game. Like, you really can't see it here because, you know, I'm using a composite and, you know, the dongle. But if you play it on a real CRT with component cables, it looks great. That's about, like, the only good thing I can say about this game. Just the graphics are good. I mean, I guess you could also say the control feels good, and, you know, using a nice GameCube controller, everything feels like how it should. And the music is good too, because I mean, it's just using most of the music is just repeated from previous Zelda games. But I guess like this music you're hearing right now is new. So yeah, I mean that's fine. I guess sometimes like the combat can be kind of fun. You know, they'll like throw like a ton of enemies at you, and you can hack and slash them, and that's pretty fun. I think that's about it. I appreciate what they tried to do, and that's tried to make a multiplayer Zelda game. You know, this is kind of like the refinement of Four Swords, right? So in that sense, they set out what they accomplished what they set out to do. But holy crap, as a single player game, it's terrible. But I'll start out by saying, even as a multiplayer game, it's so inaccessible that it's almost impossible in this day and age to play this the way it was meant to be played. And that's with 3 other friends, you know, 4-player. You need 4 GBAs and 4 link cables to play this fucking game. And there's no logical reason for it. They could have easily modified the game or built the game from the ground up so that it would work with just 4 controllers. But they were so insistent upon the connectivity thing that they were pushing at the time that they refused to compromise for practicality's sake, and it made the game worse for it. Because who the hell is gonna have 4 GBAs and 4 link cables to play this game? And by the way, that's you can't have anything less than that. If you want to play this multiplayer, it has to be 4 players, and every player needs a GBA. You can't mix and match. That is stupid. So I can't comment on the multiplayer aspect of it, but if I were to guess, if you were to play this multiplayer, it probably would be more fun. But honestly, like, in this day and age, Triforce Heroes is the better multiplayer Zelda game. It basically took this and it refined it. You know, it made it so that the puzzles were not... they were creative, but still simple enough to work in multiplayer. And they were a hell of a lot better than the puzzles in this game, which were terrible. As a single-player game, though, that's what I need to grade it on. And it is horrible. It is so boring. I had to force myself to play this game. And I'm just waiting for it to end. Like, it's... You know, if I liken it to Skyward Sword, it's like a dungeon rush, you know? Like, it's just back-to-back dungeons. And it eschews all the things that make a Zelda game really special, like the town, the connected world, the open world, whatever you want to call it. You know, it's not the dungeons by themselves that make a Zelda game fun. It's the whole thing together. So when you take a piece of that out of it and you try to play it, it feels incomplete. And that's why all the NPCs in this game are terrible. You don't care about the storyline because there is no storyline. Just go save the world. But it doesn't even create a universe that's compelling or interesting. Rarely do the NPCs say anything useful, and they never say anything interesting. But there's still NPCs in this game, and you have to talk to them. And I hate doing it. They just get in the way. The gameplay basically consists of light puzzle solving that isn't fun, and an occasional combat, which kind of is fun. I should mention the Force Gem mechanic. So instead of rupees, since having rupees in this game wouldn't make any damn sense, they replaced them with Force Gems, which you have to collect on every single level to power up your sword. And like it's kind of like a weird thing. I kind of get it. I don't know if the volume of the game is a little bit too loud. Maybe I should turn it down a little bit, so I can just at least hear myself think. Yeah, I kind of get why the Force Gems are there and why they do what they do. Because it gives... Because when you're playing with multiple people, it gives people something to do so they can mess around and attack things. But what you end up doing most of the time is just cutting grass, which is not fun. You know, it's like Nilavani said, it just turns into like a cutting grass simulator. And the thing that's annoying is how you have to keep on doing it every level. So you have to power up your sword every level. Every time you change levels, you lose your powered up sword. And it, like I said, I get why they did it, why you need to constantly collect those Force Gems, but it's so tedious. And it's so boring. And like, since there's no sense of permanency, you don't feel satisfied when you power up your sword, or when you get items for that matter. Which is another complaint about this game that I have, is that none of the items that you pick up are permanent additions to your arsenal. So as the game goes on, you don't feel more powerful. You pick up an item and then you drop your old item, and that's it. You know, accessing the start menu, there's no items. So it's very unsatisfying, but again, like, I can kind of get why that is, because it wouldn't make sense in a multiplayer game, but, you know, like, in Triforce Heroes, they fixed that problem. But all I can do is, like, even though I can understand why the mechanics are the way they are, it's still something worth pointing out as to why I don't like it, why it's not fun. You know, I have to do my best to try and explain why, as a single-player experience, this game's not fun. You know, inevitably, when you're trying to make a game multiplayer that was traditionally a single-player game, you have to make compromises. I understand that. But, yeah, I have to still be honest, too. You know, speaking of the puzzles, you know, they're just nothing special. And since I didn't like the game, I didn't really care about trying to solve them. I just ended up using a walkthrough because I couldn't be bothered. A lot of the puzzles are obtuse. There's a lot of stupid shit, but I don't even need to get into it. All I need to do is just say it, because it just happens so often. More so than it should happen in any other Zelda game. And I guess, like, in a way, again, like, I'm being really fair to the game, because I'm kind of understanding why it's like that, too, because if you have 4 people playing, you have 4 heads working together, 4 people trying to figure out the game, and, you know, that can make it a little bit easier to solve puzzles and stuff like that, because maybe someone knows what to do, or they can, like, have ideas, and everyone's working together, so... You know, the obtuseness can be mitigated somewhat like that, but still, like, some of the stuff, I don't see how you could ever know what to do without a walkthrough. And speaking of which, with the puzzles and stuff, if I were to guess, unlike Triforce Heroes, where the puzzles there's unique things that each player has to do, in this game, anyone can really do these puzzles. So I'm just seeing, like, one player dominating the game and pretty much doing everything, while the other three really, just are kind of along for the ride, and they wouldn't be having much fun. A scenario like that could happen, and I have played multiplayer games like that where it happens. Like that multiplayer Castlevania game. Happened all the time in that fucking game. So that's not good. It's just a whatever game. I would have, I would be a lot kinder to this game if it was easier to play it multiplayer. But since it is so difficult to do the multiplayer, there's no online, obviously because it was on the GameCube, and you can't use controllers. Since it's so inaccessible for the multiplayer, for what this game was intended for, it has to be penalized for that. And I can't be forgiving to it, just because someone says, well, this game was not intended for single player. Since it's so inaccessible as a multiplayer game, it's totally fair to rate this as a single player game. And it is terrible as a single player game. It is the worst Zelda game I have ever played. And that includes Phantom Hourglass and Skyward Sword, which I have renewed appreciation for. I actually have grown to like that game now after playing it a second time and beating it. This game, I will never play this game again, ever. I'm just gonna beat this one time just to get out of the way, and then that's it. I hate it. And that's all I gotta say.